you don't get to choose if you are a role model.
Right.
You get to choose the quality of the role model.
Right.
So you get to choose your character and the message that's going to go to others.
Mm-hmm. I've read books and learned a lot from books, but I've also read people and just watched what they've done.
And that's the greatest lesson.
Yeah.
You do what's right just because it's right every time. You take the hit if you have to, but you do what's right. Protect your character.
Welcome to BP Leadership. I'm Bill Purvis, your host, and this is where real leaders are made. I'm excited about our guest today. His name is Dr. Butch Beach. Butch has been my friend for many years, and he has got a wealth of information on governments and how they're run, and police and law enforcement. And there's a lot that we can learn from today, so I'm excited about it. I know you will be. Let's get started. Butch, welcome today to the podcast.
My pleasure to be here. It's an honor.
I'm glad. Well, we go back a long ways. How many years we've known each other?
We were counting the other day, by the way. I think it's like 32.
Wow. God, it's been a while. When I met you, you were on the police department. You've been there for a while. At that time, you were the assistant to the Chief Weatherington.
That's right.
But you go back a long ways. Tell me about your life growing up, what it was like, just kind of your story.
Well, I became a police officer first in April of 1974. That's the month that's unique to you. Yes.
How about that?
As a matter of fact, I'd been a policeman 27 days when you were stabbed. I came
right?
April 1st. So I'll tell folks that I've been an April Fool's joke for now nearly 48 years. But the truth is, I was there since 1974.
Wow.
And I retired in 1999, which was retired early as Chief of Staff for Chief Weatherington.
Right.
So I retired, went to full-time with the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, which had a regional academy out on the campus of Columbus State University. I spent the last couple of years with the GBI and training and investigative techniques with computer systems and that sort of issue. I retired again in 2011. I was out of work for about 90 days and went full-time with Point University, and I've been teaching full-time academic criminal justice since.
Yeah.
I'm still full-time, and I have 2 part-time jobs with other universities, and I still train around the state as I'm needed. And I just want to keep moving.
I guess so.
Until, my dad taught me, he said, I don't know about retirement, so I'm going to work till I die.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
And I guess that's really what I want to do.
Yeah, because you retired twice and got 3 jobs now as teaching.
Yes.
So
yes.
What got you into law enforcement? I'm sure there were plenty of options. You could have done other things, but what was it that made you choose that?
My dad had his own subcontracting construction company, and the business just wouldn't support 2 families anymore.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I'm going to go down to work at the police department. I said, it'll be good for a year or 2. This thing will pass. And well, I went there, fell in love with it, and 48 years later, I'm still clicking.
And you've had a lot of experience. Plus, you've got a skill for managing and organizing. A lot of people don't have that, but you have the ability to come in and take a team and put the right players in the right spot and figure out what they need to do, and then correct things when they're off track. I mean, that's a gift I've always known and respected. I have such respect for police. In fact, I believe we ought to be funding them more. But I think you get out of your car and walk up to a car, these guys that patrol, they have no idea, what that person's doing or who they are or what they just come from. Y'all, every situation could be dangerous.
Every one of them, and and it's difficult for them too. I'm going to tell you from experience. In training we put them in 2 silos. One is a guardian, and the other is a warrior. For instance, just to set the mindset where you have to be careful. I mean, one of the first things we train them is when they approach a car. If you'll ever notice this, I'm giving away a little bit here. They're gonna touch the rear of the car, that trunk lid. They just put their hand on it.
Right.
Well, that's marking the car in case all this goes bad. That's to identify the car and who they were.
Yeah.
So now that was in the old days. We taught that. Now, of course, today we have dash cams and
body cams.
So it's much improved and tag numbers on there, and it's changed. But the point I'm making is the mindset.
Yes.
So they're on their peak. That's warrior, and they have to make this warrior transition to this guardian.
Protect and serve.
And that mindset has to come back and forth. So this is just a young person that ran the red light. That's all there is to it. All they really need is just some encouragement. So we went from, am I going to get killed, to just let me speak to this teenager and send them on their way in milliseconds. Yeah. Or you can turn that around, and the perception you get is just that innocent teenager, and when you get to the window, there's a 9mm sticking out.
Yeah, so that's right.
they have a tough job.
Yeah, yeah. So you're always really tense and on edge. You're never really fully relaxed. You can't afford to be.
And you can't be all guardian, and you can't be all warrior.
Yeah.
It's a, you know, and
I get
you
it.
even said something. You need to be yourself. Well, they're trying.
Yeah.
But their self is somewhere in the middle of those two
That's right. But
extremes.
It's a job and a work for them. They don't know what surprise could come.
They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so I could just see that kind of job. Like at the end of the day, you just say, "Gosh, I just want the brain just relief." You know, so you don't have to be mentally on and engaged all day.
Yes.
But there's also a
Very close.
stress. You know, like a family with everybody. But at the same time, I see stress on their families. You know, I've seen some that have gone through divorces and things like that that say the job just had so much demand on it that it was difficult. And so I guess you got to balance all.
Yeah, you know, you're gone so much, you do so much, and one of the things my wife said, and then we retired, she said, "Now you're through. You're not a policeman anymore." You know, there are times I'd leave in the dark, I come home in the dark, or don't come home at all.
Right.
To get one of those SWAT call-outs. And, matter of fact, with that one I was telling you about, what's so funny, we were laughing about it the other day, is a date night. And I was supposed to take her to dinner, and of course we're called and we go, and 6 o'clock comes and I'm still not home. 7 o'clock comes and I'm not home. She don't know where in the world I am. So I've stood her up for dinner, and then when I call about 9:30 or 10, when the first break I got, well, she was not happy with me, as you well, you know.
That's right.
So it's and that there's a strain there that you just live through.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I'm married to a trooper. She's been right there all the way, and so it's great.
Yeah, they don't know it, but when they marry you, they get that part of that lifestyle.
That's right. But she also knew when it was enough. She said, "That's it."
Yeah. Now let me ask you, when you think about leadership, what are some of the best, I guess, the best needs or whatever when you talk about leadership? What do you think people need to know to be a better leader?
And I speak to conferences around with ethics and leadership, and I try to get the leaders to understand that these are the people that are important. You take care of the people, they'll take care of the job.
Yes.
Your job as a leader is not to do the job, it's to take care of the people.
That's it.
And you won't have to worry about the job.
Yes. Yes.
And John Cotter said it in an academic way. So, he said you get people on the bus. Now that's one place, but you got to get them in the right seat on the bus.
That's right.
And that's what makes the flywheel run and the hedgehog move.
That's right.
So you get the right people on the bus and you take care of them.
Yeah.
And then you train them, and you can feel you get people on the bus, but if they're not in the right seat.
Oh, then you got more problems too.
More problems.
You get somebody that goes out there and gets you lawsuits and creates
absolutely.
all kind of problems.
Or you got to fire them.
Yeah.
Which creates negativity and
then you got to start all over. It costs you more than to go back.
That's right. Generally, I think the core of leadership is just understanding people and knowing people. That's the first thing you have to do. But then, General Schwarzkopf, I think, said it best years ago. I will evoke names here. And this is a speech that he gave impromptu at the graduation of West Point. When he said leadership has two things. And the first is character. The second is competence. Well, I take that and say, competence doesn't matter if your character is bad.
Right.
And George Washington gave us a good example of that. But I tell them you got to guard your character.
Right. That's right.
Your reputation means everything. Your influence means everything. If you're going to lead people, they got to trust you.
That's right.
And it means everything.
That's right.
All right. So when I tell the young guys, I said, it's ethics training. The decisions you make are going to define how far you go. And you've said that similarly in a lot of your things. But that's exactly what happens. So if I'm making a mistake, that's one thing. But to do things deliberately, it will spoil your character.
That's
I like to tell them, mistakes are forgiven. Acts are remembered.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
So it's the way we do that. So if we make decisions because poor decisions, I'm talking about, and then we find ourselves in a compromising position, we're going to lose all our influence with everybody that's following us.
That's right.
They're not going to trust you anymore. So once you're in a position of leadership, there's certain things that you may have been able to do formerly that you can no longer do.
That's right.
There are liberties that you had formerly that you no longer have.
That's right.
And so when you accept that, whether that's a formal position of leadership or just an informal,
just being in the role,
being in the role is you take that on.
Yeah.
And that was best accentuated, I think. I'm going to date myself here, and you'll remember this, but Roy Firestone on ESPN back when we watched tape football games there was interviewing Charles Barkley. He was not he was a kind of a problem child in those days, if you remember. But Roy Firestorm said, well, what do you say to these parents who their children see you as a role model? He said, whoa, 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 whoa. No. I'm not a role model. And so I use that to say, now, wait a minute. If he's that celebrity basketball player and these kids are looking,
Yeah, he is whether he likes
he is a role model. You don't get to choose if you are a role model.
Right.
You get to choose the quality of the role model.
Right.
So you get to choose your character and the message that's going to go to others. And so I caution them.
Yeah.
Protect your character.
That's true.
You do what's right just because it's right every time. You take the hit if you have to, but you do what's right. And even if that means going against the grain, in the end, it's going to pay. It's going to pay off for you.
Yeah.
You know, they know that you'll do what's right, and you're there for them.
That's right.
If you start to vacillate and do, you're just giving it up.
Yeah.
So it's character.
Yes.
And then, of course, competence. You got to be good at what you do.
Right.
Now, you don't have to be the best.
Yeah.
But you got to be good.
That's what keeps you in the game. That's
yes.
right.
You got to understand, you know, what the game is and how it's played, and be at least competent to do the task you're asking everybody else to do. But you got to always be learning.
That's right.
Always be
Yes.
growing. The sooner you can recognize what you don't know, the stronger you are.
That's right.
And you start looking.
I've read books and learned a lot from books, but I've also read people and just watched what they've done.
And that's the greatest lesson.
Yeah, and I've said,
Yes,
okay, I just
that's
noticed how
right.
he did that.
Greatest lesson.
Yeah, I remember one time being in a car with a guy that was a high-level business guy, and it was back when he had cars with the telephones with the wires in them, and we were driving home, and we were coming back from Atlanta, and his assistant called him, and she said, James is here, and that was one of his foremen or something. Said, and he's mad, and he can't wait to see you. He is angry at you, and he's mad. And so initially you want to get defensive. And I'll never forget how quickly he turned that. He said, good, I'm glad he's mad. He said, because I'm mad too. He said, so when I get there, he said, we'll have a talk. And then he hung up. And I remember thinking, he just spun that thing so easy.
That's
Instead
right.
of getting defensive,
Right.
yeah, like, well, good, we'll finally get this table. And that was one of the first times I learned, and I said, you know, why is it we always go into reactive defensive mode instead of just, okay.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. Tell me about your faith. How'd you come to God, and how was that?
You know, I think I'll try to do this without when I finished my postgraduate school, my doctorate, you know, you make your dedication to it, and I think I tried to say it best here. And what I said was, if it weren't for Jesus Christ and my wife, I wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this. I was a police officer enjoying life, just enjoying life. I mean, as police officers enjoy life. You with me?
Yeah.
All right, so, and then I married Virginia. And Virginia had a strong Christian background. Her with her grandmother and those other people. I had some influence,
Right.
but it was more from faith that told me what I shouldn't do and punish if you don't do it and leave that alone. But Virginia had a different outlook, and so I got to give some credit here to a couple of people. So her sister was going to a little Baptist church called Chase Memorial Baptist Church. And she invited Virginia and I to go over there. So we go over there, and Virginia rededicates her life and starts going all the time. Well, I went once, went home. Well, the pastor was a former police officer. All right, so God just kind of puts you in the right place at the right time, just hooks you up. He started coming by the house, and he just got in my face as a police officer. Well, and he said, what's your situation with Jesus Christ? You know him or you don't know him? I said, what does he mean by knowing? You know, and so we blew it off, went on. But I got to think about that question. So then a couple of Sundays after that, he said, I want you to come. I want you to come. So Virginia said, I want you to go. So I went to church with her. Bill. I'm saying, okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
You know, no big deal. So I went. And then in May of year 1987, all right, it just hit me. The Spirit was calling. It said, you need to know Jesus.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know what that means, but I need to do something. And you know, the Spirit just working.
Yes.
And so I think Virginia could tell it. I'm honest, I believe she did. I looked at her, she looked at me, and she just nodded her head, and I never said a word. I said, okay. And I took that step, and I changed.
Wow.
Or I changed right there. A few months after that, you came there and taught a revival.
Yep, did a revival.
Or preaching a revival.
That's right.
I was there every night, all right? And I was hungry then, you know, and hungry. And I said, there's just something about that. So we said, let's visit Cascade just to see what it's like over there. We visited, and then we never left. It was from there on.
Yeah.
So Jesus changed my whole outlook in the life.
Wow.
My whole about everything, about Virginia and the way I was doing life and the way I was raising my kids.
Wow.
And so from then until now, it's only gotten stronger.
Wow.
But without the grace of Jesus, you know, I don't know where I'd be, but it wouldn't be here.
I know.
And it wouldn't have been on that fence post, and I'd have never been the director of the training center. I'd have never been a chief of police somewhere. I'd have never probably been chief of staff at a police department. None of that would have ever happened if I don't get my life right. Matter of fact, I'd probably be dead or fired by now. I mean, I was moving fast and hard and never known fear. And that's a little truth, Bill. Without Virginia and Jesus, I'm certain I wouldn't.
Yes.
I know I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing. So people don't realize when you come to Him, we think, you know, what's God going to do with my life? And it'd be better off just not to ask and just trust.
Because I'm telling you, it don't matter.
Yeah.
That's right. I tell folks, you know, some people say, well, I haven't lived it. Well, I know. That's why you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we'll agree with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't live it,
No.
and I'm one of those.
Me too.
All right, so if that'd keep you out, then they ain't no hope for me or anybody else. So why not? Why not? I can tell you that it ain't about what you're going to give up. It's about what you're going to get.
That's right.
Now, it might not be prescriptive again, like, well, this is what I want. He don't always give you what you want, but he certainly gives you what you need.
That's right.
And what you ought to be doing.
That's right. That's it.
And what he's going to give you
Yes.
it ain't going to be what you deserve.
No.
It's going to be a lot more
That's
than
right.
you deserve. And I've learned that.
It is. There's a peace. There's a purpose in your life. All of those things seem to make it like, wow, what a...
You know, Bill, I've been promoted, whether you call it promotion or not. You know, I speak all the time. I get the opportunities that people call on the phone. You know, and I'm not any different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been promoted so far beyond my capabilities and my what I deserve.
Yeah.
I like to tell this. I told my Bible study this. I said, if God quit blessing me today, I can't live long enough to break even.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You
Just
still be
can't.
thanking Him forever.
Yeah, if I live as long as Methuselah, I probably couldn't.
That's right.
And obviously, we don't have that.
And that's the way to live, though. It's
It
living
is.
with gratitude. Every day, if you can get up and find things to be grateful for,
You know,
it changes
and
your life.
God has been so good to me
I know.
and mine
I'm with you. I'm with you, Butch.
and mine.
Butch, thank you so much. It's been fun talking to you today and getting caught up. Thanks for being my guest today.
It's been such a pleasure.
Man, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that you're going to enjoy this, and so my prayer is for you that you'll share it with somebody else. And always watch us here. Be sure and hit the subscribe button. Love to have you as a part of this team.